A very hot topic in the market right now is, of course, camping, caravans, trailers, and motorhomes. At this time, there is a major boom. We would like to demonstrate to you just how many products we have available to enable you to customize your camper or to install fantastic products for your clients in the workshop.
Let's start here with the electrics. Of course, you will also need 1 or 2 relays. Of course, it's well stored with us and easy to find in the online catalog. You're also looking for something, for example, because you need a time delay. Something has to go on after a moment or go off again. We have various relays in our range, also with different circuit diagrams. We also have control units in our program. This means they can be LED control units, especially if you don't have a motorhome but a caravan with LED technology installed. They can also be battery management control units, which we will discuss shortly. Simply our Martin shock in the electrical area. So Martin protection, in other words, you have it at the front, we are heading to the campsite in nature, and then you find yourself there, and naturally in the woods, the Martin is delighted to see new visitors. We also have our Martin warning system. We'll show you that in detail soon.
Indeed, that was the electrical section. Naturally, we have a lot in the installation area as well. And if you check out the installation section, what you needed for the conversion in the caravan or here in our camper. You required cable entry fittings. We made a hole. Yes, we deburred it. But then the cable comes through. Here's the additional protection from the cable entry sleeve. Then we have what we need a lot for installation. A selection with all the holders for the cable ties. We have these nice adhesive bases, which also have the advantage that you can stick them around corners, and they are quite sturdy. The cable ties are also part of it.
When everything is built, you'll need it all, especially if you're installing a lot. Here we have heat shrink tubes with inner adhesive for extra protection. There is the outer protection provided by the heat shrink tubing. With the inner adhesive, it is even more water resistant. If you have something outside, you can see that you might be outside, the door is open, and you have something installed. You might get some splash water or drizzle before you shut the door, but everything is safe. Here's another safety feature. The box you see isn't in our catalog, but it's possible because we have many empty boxes. So you can create your own combinations.
Anyone can assemble it themselves.
Exactly. Here we also have circuit breakers that can be installed, for example. This means we have those for triggering, then we also have those with a manual trigger. Here we also have the smart glow fuse.
This means they light up when they are defective. It's nice with the circuit breakers. In the end, when you've installed your circuit breaker here, similar to at home, you can press the button to interrupt the circuit when you need to access something. So it's just like your apartment, but mobile. Yes, they are definitely optimal for that.
We possess, for instance, a USB socket installed up here. Maybe there was a short circuit that caused the fuse to blow. You're still in the middle of nowhere and need to find a way forward. It's either the circuit breaker or the smart toilet. The LED lights up, indicating that it's broken, so you know what to expect.
When it comes to the circuit breaker, you have the benefit of being able to push it back in. The circuit is closed once more. Do you happen to have a fuse in nature? That's the second question.
That's the question. We have more here. Moving on with our braided tubing. For instance, you have created a cable conversion or wiring harness. You want to protect it from abrasion and external influences. There are classic options, as you know, loose, but we also have shrink options. This means heating it and it shrinks. Here's our Velcro tape.
And the Velcro, we have a lot installed here because when we do a proper basic cleaning and degreasing, we stick it on. We have 30 kilos on shear strength, so you can quickly install something that you later need to take off. In our case, it was the Martin shocker. We positioned it so that it is directly in a spotlight. We need to release him again if we want to change the bulb or the entire headlight. This is perfect for that.
Right. Then we still have installation material over here. Clips was a nice topic directly during our conversion here too.
We installed the ambient light and, of course, removed the plastic cover. Not a single clip survived, as you know.
Jens screamed briefly.
Just for a moment. Using the original part number, we quickly found the right clips in our online catalog and ordered them by overnight delivery. They arrived the next morning, and we were able to keep working.
There were just 16 clips that broke. Then we have our connectors here. This means we have our solder connector here. We also used many crimp connectors, especially for heating. This means shrinking, or for example, loosening the solder with the solder connector. We also used our burner. Afterwards, we will provide links to the tools we used, detailing what we took and what we required. Here we have battery terminal clamps again.
And we have various battery clamps. In this instance, we opted for this quick lock clamp. It allows me to release it in no time. Even if the camper is stored away in winter, where I lack a power supply, I want to disconnect the battery. This process is very quick. Additionally, I have the 3 connections we utilized here, which enabled me to connect my external devices. It's an ideal solution. Furthermore, we must mention our insulating tapes in this context, as we have a comprehensive range available. For example, we use this felt tape, which can be used as abrasion and cable protection, or the other tape that is really site-specific. It has a pleasant feel to it. You can create your own wiring harness, and it appears original, like OE.
And it possesses an unfathomable tensile strength. So that's about 7 square centimeters. In the lower area, where it might be a bit more robust, if you ever drive into the nature, you have the option that everything is safe. We also have switches. The new round ones are in black and white for our jackets.
They also come in colors and with interior lighting in different hues. We picked black since it suits us best. It looks slim. Thus, we have installed the black switches here.
We've talked about cables often in terms of installation, but the cable itself is crucial. We use silicone cables, which are highly flexible. Of course, in a place where a lot might move.
The door opens and closes all the time. It's silicone cable, fine-grade silicone cable, the best option.
Or positive and negative, red and black, 2 wires bundled in 1 casing.
We installed 10 square meters here and 16 on the camper. We have various cable sizes. It depends on the application. We have connected this in our cable connection boxes. For instance, we have one here as an example. There are very many options available in our online catalog. We have them with ATEX standards. We have them X-proof. We have them in protection class IP69K. So theoretically, I could install them under the camper in any variant.
At the front corner, we have another socket connection. This is our Super Seal, but it's just an example. This is a connector housing set. You can also have 2 connections that meet, but I also want to disconnect them again because I need to access them. It can simply go from single pole to multi-pole. In this case, we have a 4-pole variant here. The tools or release mechanisms you need are always included with the product.
It's also in the online catalog. What a tool, what a device.
The accessory list is kept up to date. Naturally, there is an even better version with the DT connector, which offers enhanced water protection due to its rating.
We have protection class IP67 here. With the DT connector or DTM connector, we would have IP69K. And what must not be missing in the camper are all these connections here. Yes, we have cigarette lighter sockets. We have USB connections, which also provides the amperage needed to charge devices like Apple products. We also have another USB port here that you can screw in somewhere with a long cable. Here's the setup, which is also nice to see. That would be an installation. Then we have our MAC code here, which we have had in the program for a very long time. A pure magnetic socket, which could fall off if I bump into it. There's a regular MAC code and a MAC code Pro. Please remember, the MAC code only has a magnetic lock. The MAC code Pro has an additional 5-degree lock in addition to the magnetic closure. Right there. So we see an incredible number of products here that we have also installed. And now, of course, we would go through the bus again with the camera at the end. We would show again what we have installed and where we have installed it, and then make a brief comment about it.
Right.
Yes, we have now practically started our external feed in here. We have a train purchase part here. We opted for a very small version that doesn't add much bulk. However, it serves the same purpose as a larger outlet. We have, of course, connected the external power supply to our charger here. In this instance, it provides approximately 60 amps. Additionally, we have installed external jump start points here, because in this vehicle, the battery is installed down in the footwell. It's a huge task to access it. We do not have extra connections in the engine compartment for jump starting or anything else. Therefore, we have also connected external jump start points here, and then it works too. Here is our Martin shocker, which we have already talked about and installed. If we happen to go wild camping at some point, please pay attention to the regulations that exist in each country. Yes, there are countries where wild camping is allowed, not in Germany. We have installed the Martin shocker here to avoid unwanted visitors, and so we can also drive away with our vehicle. We set it up here because this was the best area for installation. We might need to attach the spotlight. That's why we used Velcro here, so we can remove it again, and we can then put it back on afterwards. That's just the optimal solution that this Velcro tape offers. So it's installed again, and all is well. Yes, from the external power source we demonstrated, we connected directly to our charger, which is our CS70 with 70 amps. From there we go to the supply battery located at the back, not the starter battery. We have now connected all the devices to the supply battery, of course. Naturally, there is still battery management installed, including a battery trend switch, and an electronic one, so nothing can go wrong there. Yes, you can still see our little switches installed here, positioned so they don't obstruct anything. And of course, it's very important. I'm camping now. I want some lighting to load and unload, and maybe set up a table or even unfold one. Then I just turn on my ambient lighting, and it's beautifully lit here too. Now, of course, we come to the remaining lighting that we have installed inside, and for that, I would simply say I turn on the spotlights inside, and PT appears.
Now, we're going inside. So now we'll show you the lighting area. We had the ambient light outside and the interior lighting. Here we have our spots in the ceiling. We have connected the spots with cables. Additionally, there are large cable routes leading to the front, including the switch where the Gense has just powered it on. As you can see, what one needs is always individual. What do I want in my bus, in my camper trailer? Here we have our reading light, our gooseneck lamp. That means it can simply be turned on here. At a later time, there will be a table here with seating options. This means I can easily come here and lower the lamp a bit if I'm working on my laptop or just want to read. We also have a blue light mounted above the driver's seats, or a white one. White means I choose something. I need to check. Blue is also for driving operations, which we have in our wad buses. If you start early or drive through the night, you have a bit of ambient light, so it's not completely dark in the front area. In addition, there is now a light up here that is connected, meaning it operates with both the white and blue lights. In this case, unlike the other lights I just demonstrated, this one does not operate on the supply battery, but instead uses the starter battery, meaning it connects to the standard light. And then we also have this here at the top. In this area, we have what will be a bit of a storage compartment where I can store my clothes or my things, and there is a motion sensor lamp inside. You see, I just reach in and instantly have light. This means I don't require a separate switch for it. I simply open the flap later and can come over here to have light on this side. I have a very bright light in here, which illuminates my upper space. The lamp, which you can also see here, is quite flat, so it doesn't stick out, is unobtrusive, and is well installed. Jens mentioned that we completed the external power supply, meaning we will provide power to the service battery here. We've also added an inverter for extra capacity. Our goal is to convert the 12 volts from the battery into 230 volts. Naturally, we also have a coffee maker and a laptop to power.
I want to be autonomous, meaning I don't always need the external power supply. As we like to say, I can stand in the woods or fields and still have a 220 volt connection.
Down here we have 600 watts, which can be increased or decreased depending on the requirements. In this instance, we focused on being able to charge a laptop, ensuring the output is adequate, but we can also accommodate smaller devices. If someone comes along and wants to operate larger machines, we also have larger options available.
In addition, we have indeed laid a considerable amount of installation material here. For instance, we have routed another cable to the rear using our previously mentioned adhesive base along with the cable ties. Eventually, an outdoor shower is intended to be installed in this location. We also have a distribution socket with USB on this side where we have plugged in the rotor again. And then we also have here at the top a USB socket. There's also another USB socket in this area. And then inside we have provided everything through a fuse box. And we will show that to PT now as well. I'll open the flap for you.
Let's take a look now. Notice here is our fuse box, which means there's room for a circuit breaker. In this case, we have simply installed a smart glow fuse, which means that, as I mentioned earlier, if it blows, an LED lights up. We have now individually secured our lights here that we have additionally installed, as well as the USB socket. Sometimes you might connect too many devices, or there could be a short in the wiring causing something to blow, and then you won't face that issue.
As you can see, we have a very comprehensive program to convert a camper and a caravan. You can offer a lot in the workshop. What we are going to do in conclusion is to visit an electrician, because we have a 220-volt external power supply, who will check everything again regarding the 220-volt setup, ensuring we installed everything correctly, and will sign off on it. Then the camper will be ready for use. We wish everyone a wonderful holiday.
And everything else you might need, such as tools that were used, can be found below in the description text. We have listed what we used here,